Thank you. Good evening and welcome to our meeting of February 21st, 2023. We're going to be starting with some zoning issues first and then move on to the public agenda after for the regular council meeting. So be it resolved that this public meeting for zoning amendments now open at 6:30 p.m. Moved by Deputy Mayor Densham, seconded by Councillor Bigelli. All in favor? All carried. Be it resolved that the agenda be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Shane, seconded by Councillor McDonald. All in favor? Anyone against? Seeing none, carried. Do I see any pecuniary interest of any nature thereof? Seeing none. Be it resolved the council receives the planning report for zoning bylaw amendment application Z-2023-03 Thierry and Villeneuve as submitted by the township consultant planner and approves the recommendations contained therein. I'll get a mover and a seconder and then we'll go to our planner. Moved by Councillor Bigelli, seconded by Deputy Mayor Densham. And I will get Stephanie to give us the report. Please.
Good evening, members of council. So tonight we're here to discuss the zoning bylaw amendment, and this is the public meeting for that. And it's for application Z 2023-03, Villeneuve and Thierry. All right, so I'll just go through a brief planning introduction, and then we'll move on to the actual application. So this meeting is being held pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act. And requests to be notified of the decision can be submitted to myself at smorin@northstormont.ca. This meeting is an open forum for the public and council to gather information, ask questions, and voice comments and concerns. So an overview of the zoning amendment will be provided and then followed by an opportunity for the applicant to comment or present if available. Following the presentation, there will be an opportunity for comments and questions from the public and council and an opportunity for the applicant to address them. A decision may be made later this evening or at a later date. There is a 20-day period of appeal that begins following the decision. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of North Stormont before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Council of the Township of North Stormont to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the township before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal member, there are reasonable grounds to do so. So we'll just go through the planning framework. So the provincial policy statements, or PPS, and the most recent version is 2020, is a statement of the government's policies on land use planning. It applies province-wide and provides clear policy direction on land use planning to promote strong communities, a strong economy, and a clean and healthy environment. The Planning Act says that a decision of a municipality in respect of the exercise of any authority that affects a planning matter shall be consistent with the policy statements issued. So next we'll sort of move into the official plan. So the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry's official plan outlines a set of goals and objectives for development in the county for the next 20 years, while having regard for the effects on the social, economic, and natural environment of the municipality. It contains policies to be used for the review and development applications and any other planning decisions. And then if we move from a top-down approach to the zoning bylaw, a zoning bylaw controls the use of land in a municipality and community by designating land parcels with specific land zones. The bylaw specifies the permitted uses, so commercial, agricultural, residential, and then the required standards. So it can be building size, location, setbacks, that sort of thing in each zone. So zoning bylaws and any amendments to the zoning bylaw must conform to the official plan. In terms of public works and bylaws to conform with the plan, the Planning Act, Section 24(1) says that despite any other general or special act where an official plan is in effect, no public work shall be undertaken, and except as provided in subsection 2 and 4, no bylaw shall be passed for any purpose that does not conform therewith. All right, so we're moving on to the application. So again, application number Z 2023-03 for Villeneuve and Thierret. Okay, so this amendment proposes to rezone the lands legally described as part of Block N on Plan 66, Part 1 on Reference Plan 52R 730 in the geographic township of Roxborough in the township of North Stormont, or otherwise 28 St. Polycarp Street, Moose Creek. So we're rezoning this. There's two portions of this. So we'll see a map just in a few minutes, but from general commercial to residential second density, special exception 26, that's R2-26. And then the other portion of the property is to be rezoned from general commercial to residential first density, or the R1 zone. This amendment seeks to permit the future development of residential uses, including single detached and semi-detached units, and to be established on these lands at a later date. The special exception, R2-26 zone, would permit an interior side yard setback minimum of 1.2 meters down from 2 meters. Okay, so the entire property is the purple and the yellow. So what you're seeing is that purple section is being proposed to be rezoned to R2-26. And then the yellow portion of the property is being proposed to be rezoned to a first density residential zone. All right, and so I've sort of highlighted that this is the official plan map. So that red portion is the property that we're talking about. And in the official plan, it's designated as urban settlement area residential district. As you'll notice that all the area around it, that is also designated residential district, that pink color. The orange color or orangey brown color to the north, that is commercial district. Okay, so that's red section again. This is the zoning bylaw. The red section is the property in question, and it's shown at the moment to be zoned general commercial. And then you'll see the yellow is all of the residential zone around it. So I've also included here a list of the permitted uses in the R1 zone. So you've got your single detached dwelling. And then I also have highlighted under the R2 zone. So this is the purple portion of the map you just saw. And R1 uses are permitted uses in this zone, but also a semi-detached dwelling, multi-unit up to 2 units, boarding and lodging, a rooming house, dwelling linked. But specifically what I've highlighted is just that interior side yard setback, which is 2 meters currently, and that special exception is proposed to bring that 2 meters to 1.2 meters. Okay, so again, proposed zoning is residential first density and residential second density, special exception 26. And again, that special exception zone reduces the minimum interior side yard setback from 2 meters to 1.2 meters to accommodate the applicant's proposal. This is a sketch that was attached to the application. So what you're seeing is that single detached, that yellow portion is to the right, and then moving to the left, you've got 2 semi-detached proposed at a later date. The proposed property lines, again, that's something that would come later. In this case, are also dividing each of those buildings. So in terms of comments that we've received, as of today, there were 2 public inquiries made from neighboring landowners. Mo responded to them, but I do understand that those comments were related to the interior side yard setback and also to how the higher density may change the character of the neighborhood. As well, South Nation Conservation Authority provided comment, and their comments addressed the watercourse along the east property line, and that's the upper Moose Creek Municipal Drain. It's identified as having a factor of safety of less than 2.5 in the slope stability study of the South Nation River. And it indicated that the slope should be inspected, but no remedial action is likely to be required. And additionally, any interference with the bed or banks of that watercourse will require a permit from South Nation under OREG 17006. So that's the end, but I will just go back to this and open up the floor.
Thank you very much. So first, I'll go and take questions and concerns or comments from council. So any comments or questions towards that? Councilor, or sorry, Deputy Mayor Densham.
Mayor, thanks, Stephanie. So the South Nation comment, they feel that with their conditions, the concerns will be considered mitigated then if
There is a setback in the zoning bylaw of 15 meters from that watercourse.
okay. Okay, sorry, could you go back to their comments? Because
Yeah,
there's-
absolutely. Do you want me to pull them?
You
I can
got
pull
that?
them back up for sure.
So the slope being inspected, I guess, is, but no remedial action is likely to be required. So from their perspective, it's a comment for us to
Yes.
consider. It's not a caution or a warning in this instance.
No, exactly.
Okay, thank you. And it does make sense to me. I mean, the fact that it's in the urban area, it sits so nicely. I think we still, I'm hoping that when we get our economic developer in place, we'll see some growth in the commercial area, but this is clearly in an urban area, so it does make sense. So thank you.
Any other questions?
A general one about, is there still vacant commercial lots in the commercial designated area within Moose Creek? Like, do you know if there's still enough space for commercial uses?
Not off the top of my head, but I do know that there is one or two vacant commercial. Now we are at the county level, we are undertaking that growth management strategy, and what that will do is it will identify the areas where we should be growing in our settlement areas for both commercial and employment and residential district.
Yeah, because when I look at the designation, it does make sense, just seeing that it was sort of an orphaned commercial. Who knows why? I'm not necessarily trying to dig into the history of it, but as long as we preserve those commercial spaces in our
Mhm.
villages, because we need to have space for that. And I know in some places that's a challenge. So that was my only concern, but I think with the designation map you showed, it helped to clarify that they're basically defined commercial core, and it sounds like there's still possibilities there for people in the future. So
Exactly.
that's good. Thank you.
Any questions from this side of the table?
Not really quite, more comments on that and the change of the designation there. For the commercial side, we do see, especially on the north side of Polycarp and then heading out towards the 138, a lot more of that commercial designation, but that property there being sandwiched into subdivisions just to the south of it and then the park area to the east. If there was ever an idea for commercial, I think it would be challenged by things like parking in that general area, just being where that property is sandwiched. So I think it's a fairly safe and smart move to redesignate the property.
Thank you. So I'll just comment possibly on the first comments in regards to interior side yards. So I think we are looking, the province is pushing for multiple density to get houses built. The rates of renting has gone skyrocket. People do need a place to live. So that part of it I support, but also the 1.2, most municipalities, the one to the west of us, to the north, they all have already designated their zoning bylaw to have a 1.2 meter. So I see it often here where we bring it in front of council to go from 2 to 1.2, but basically all around us, the minimum zoning setbacks for interior side yards are at 1.2 and not 2 meters. So it kind of lies with the rest of the demographic from other communities around us. And so maybe that shows a bit as to where the developers are looking at going. So So seeing no other questions from the floor, I believe I'll take if there's any questions from member of the public that would like to speak on the matter. Yep. Go ahead. If you can stand, just state your name, where you're from, and we'll hopefully answer some of your questions. If you want, maybe it would be best just to go up to the mic so that other people outside of the gallery will be able to hear you. If you turn that one on. Okay.
Takes a second or two.
There we go. You're good. Well, push it again. There you go. You're good to go. No, what's a green mean? I'll apologize. Maybe try pushing it again because I see the light. Now you're good.
Okay, good.
Sir, could you repeat
So-
your address, please?
Yes,
And-
so Chad Hyde, HYDE, at 30 St. Polycarp Street. So the lot to the south of this place in question. Thank you. So I just first would like to say that I do support the rezoning to residential. It makes a lot of sense to me. And I really feel the commercial next to me is the less attractive option. So yes, happy to see it being developed, happy to see residential being built on it. But I do have a couple of concerns. Two primary concerns, one being the setback, as mentioned, and three things on that. First of all, I'd like to know from the developers, 1.2 meters. I have some mature trees and shrubs planted along the property line right on it. I'd like to know what's going to happen with those. They provide me privacy. There's some apple trees. So that would, part of the nature of my backyard is those trees along the property line. The other one is the slope of the land, that yellow strip there. And my house as well, to the south of it, goes back level from the road for about 30 feet and then drops off quite quickly down to the river. So I'm wondering how they're going to put a house on there, whether they're going to put in fill, or whether they're going to change the slope. And then I'm concerned, if it's so close to my property line, is there going to be a slope then down to my land, which is already quite wet. And I'm concerned there'll be more runoff into my property. The third point is the previous building that was there before I moved in was, I think, probably within that distance to the property line. It burned down, and I understand that my house was damaged. So the siding was damaged, needed to be replaced. So certainly I'd like to have any new building on that property be built further away to avoid that. And conversely, if something happened to my house, to protect the neighbor. So that's the point on the property line. On the density, I am concerned that it would affect the character of the neighborhood. When you drive around Moose Creek, very few houses are 10 feet apart, particularly on St. Polycarp. Most of them are fairly large, single houses on fairly large land, with comfortable space between them. And that's what attracted me to the neighborhood. There have been, I think, at least 4 new families move in the last couple of years. I'm sure that's what's attracting them. I'm wondering, sort of concerned for the developer, will they be able to attract people to a dense, 5 units in one lot, when in my experience, that's not what we come here looking for. Yeah, so just wondering what, how that fits in the neighborhood, what it'll do to the character, what it'll do to, my plans to sell in how many ever years, will it still be as attractive as I found it when I came here? So, thank you.
So maybe I'll go first. So to some comments that were made. So in regards to when the developer does come forward, how does the process work? Does it go for a site plan approval? Does the township kind of specify as far as a site plan agreement to determine, to make sure that we can maybe answer some of those concerns?
So in terms of site plan approval, that doesn't apply to single detached dwellings or semi-detached dwellings. However, I do understand that lot grading is on staff's radar, and it is something that the planning department, the planning consultants, myself and Peter, are looking at establishing a lot grading policy for North Stormont. So it is something that we want to get moving on, because under the Drainage Act, you can't direct water onto anyone else's property. So that is certainly something that we're looking at moving forward. In terms of the character of the neighborhood and a little bit more of a dense development, Bill 23 specifically that just came out, the provincial government is now sort of, instead of having 2 units now on each property, every property can potentially have 3 units. And it is that push for affordable housing. It's a push for all ranges of housing and all opportunities from an affordability perspective. So it is something that the province is pushing forward with. And with the housing crisis that we're in, something that we certainly need. And then the trees along the property line, I can't speak for the applicant. I don't know if the applicant is here. Oh, yeah. I believe you sat down with Mo, so through you.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. So would there be, so as far as it's specific to on the south side, I don't know from the site plan how close that south limit, how close you're going, and what's your take?
I think it kind of works both ways, right? He wants his privacy, we kind of probably want our privacy too, so like we're kind of like pretty still, cool.
The trees can stay, it's just if ever the property sold in the future, I can't guarantee the new owner.
As far as for like that lot, there's like a bit of a hill there, it goes down the creek. I mean, I think the vision there is to make a walkout basement, so therefore it's high.
That's one of the reasons we put the single lot there, is to kind of take advantage of the land.
And if we could take advantage of that slope that goes to the back and maintaining the water on your side down to the creek versus going towards a neighboring property. So with that, is that going to be implemented soon for the grading aspect? So can it be looked at where before you get final inspection that it has to meet the standard of the municipality?
That is the intention with the lot grading policy that we're looking at bringing forward.
Thank you. Any questions or comment from council on? See,
If it's okay.
go ahead, Councilor Vidal.
So the lot that will have second density or whatever the each semi could have 3 units once it's severed. Like the semi would be constructed, severed, and could have 3 units each.
Technically, yes. Yeah, so a semi could technically have 4 units in total before that they moved forward under the old rules, but yes.
So that's the thing when we're approving the zoning bylaw amendment, then whatever is permissible under that zone is possible. So you can't compel people to do things outside of that building permit or your lot grading and drainage, but you're considering all the things that could be possible in that zone. And I'm obviously for the density and different options for people right now. We are in a housing crisis. And Moose Creek, that probably feels like a lot of density for Moose Creek, and those are beautiful homes there. And I appreciate the comments from the resident and member of the public. But in some ways as well, the province has prescribed these things in terms of the number of units that are possible. So we're approving what I think is an appropriate level of density, but there is a possibility of additional units outside of our control. Not a good thing or a bad thing. Just want to make sure I wanted to make sure that I was clear on that.
from you stuff. Just one.
Councillor Shane.
So in speaking with each of the semis being able to potentially be 4 units, are you looking at front yard setbacks? Because in a lot of towns I've seen, they're really restricted on parking and all these cars are parking out in the street. And we definitely don't want to see that.
Exactly.
So they are set back enough to accommodate for this.
So exactly. So in the rural areas, I say rural as opposed to being in the city of Ottawa or the city of Cornwall for that matter. And our setbacks are typically 6 meters. And that is supposed to be able to provide for 2 vehicle length. Now, in the parking calculation, the space in an attached garage, for instance, is also considered as well, provided that it is a full space in depth.
That's a fair comment because I think St. Paul Cap is curbed. So I believe if it is curbed, then you're really restricting if you're having a car or cars parked on the side of the road versus into the parking space. So for that,
I just wanted to make sure that we addressed all of the questions because he did have a number of questions and I think I got them all, but I would.
go ahead, Councillor Legault.
Is there anything about the fire separation? Because that was brought up as well, but not discussed.
Fire separation all falls under the Ontario Building Code. Sometimes when you get within that 1.2 meter setback, that's when you have to start looking at cladding, windows, openings, that sort of thing. So that's all evaluated at the time of the building permit review. And the building permit review, there are no variances from the fire separation. So that is something that's important to.
So as you get closer, the requirement for the building becomes a little bit more stringent up into a point where you can't compensate and then you hit a limit.
Exactly. So there's certain like fire separations that you have to meet, whether that's by brick or as you get closer, you know, you're okay with vinyl siding. And then as you get closer and closer, I just don't know those offhand.
Okay. Go ahead, Chad. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it doesn't.
So
Because all that they can require it for a building permit is up until that property line. So that 1.2 meters is usually fairly okay. It's once you get past a meter or so, when you're within that setback, that's when things start to arise.
thank you. So I'm not sure if that answers your questions. Oh, sorry, I'll just finish off. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The reduction of the setback, that's on the R2 though. of the
Sorry,
request,
yes, you're
It's not on
correct.
the R1.
You're correct, yeah.
So the R1, which would be right next door to you, they're not requesting a smaller setback.
It's already 1.2.
Oh, it already is 1.2.
It is
I'm
already
sorry.
1.2.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mayor Cuthbert, I do have a question because the gentleman did state about apple trees on the property line. Is there not a bylaw or a stipulation within the counties that you are supposed to stay so many feet off of the property line when you plant a tree? Because my understanding is if your tree overhangs on the neighboring property, you are allowed to trim that tree, are you not?
Through the chair, you're absolutely correct.
I can also speak a little bit to the Forestry Act. Any tree, obviously, when a tree is planted or whether it just grows naturally, the trunk of the tree, if any part of it goes over that property line, it is legally owned by both sides. But you are correct on if the tree is planted on one property, you can along your property line trim it, yes.
Any other questions from go ahead if you want to come up and state your. Yeah.
Base. There we go.
Could you state your name and your address, sir?
I'm David McDonald. I am the neighbor on the other side, so 18 St. Polycarp. I do want to echo a lot of what Mr. Hyde has mentioned. I do really appreciate it being rezoned to a residential property. A lot of my concerns have been mentioned by Mr. Hyde as well. Again, I want to reiterate that looking at and what drew us to Moose Creek in the first place was that well-developed, larger separations between properties. And I recognize on my end, I have a little bit more of a luxury of having more space from where the property line is, but that's still something to be considered as well as what two residences on either side have echoed. I also just general curiosity of those, well, within the purple district, are those going to be rental or sold to property owners?
If I may, so the development, I'll speak on my, but I believe the developers looking at building them, he could turn around and themselves, they could rent it, but they also can turn around and sell it. You could buy it and then rent it. So the possibilities, I think, are
Just if there's a general understanding. of
maybe
what-
I could let them speak on their.
The plan is to probably build this out.
And then when it comes to property lines, is there going to be a independent surveyor to come through and pin the lines? Okay,
That's gonna be this.
okay, just wanted to make sure that, because I know that the angle that we have on our property is odd.
Yes.
It's not the best. And I can very much comply with figuring out how that works too, so. Sorry. I also wanted to note that on the yellow property during the spring, it does flood pretty well. So just a consideration that I've noticed. So if you're going to do a property that has that utilizes that slope in a way, it might be a concern when it comes to the watershed. Sorry. When it comes to design, is that going to match I'm addressing you, but I probably should be addressing the council, sorry. When it comes to the design of the actual buildings that are to be come into existence after this rezoning has happened, is it going to match the appearance of the town itself, the township itself, or is it going to be more modern in a way or in any specific way? Because that could also take away or add to the characteristics of the neighborhood.
To answer that, so in certain subdivisions, there's covenants that you can put to demand those requests, but I think on
just
this,
curious.
yeah, on this particular, I can maybe let if they're that far into knowing what.
I do have a plan made up, but I do want to build it, but still talking with the architect on that. So it has been made in 2019, that plan, so I changed, but it's more modern.
Okay. Makes sense. And my final question is that I know that there is a sidewalk on the front part of that property. How would that work? Would that be carried on, continued? Would that stop there as it does now? Is there any further developments of continuing that sidewalk? Because my property doesn't have a sidewalk on the front half, and it kind of ends quite a bit into like halfway between that purple property as well.
I believe that would have to be evaluated. I don't know right now
That's
the
fair, yeah.
demographics, so it would be something to reconsider with staff, but right now I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah, totally fair. Just a comment.
Sidewalks are owned and maintained by the township, so because there's no site plan approval, there isn't something that would trigger an applicant to design and construct a sidewalk.
So it would work in relation with the county, so it's a county road, but the sidewalks are maintained and provided if the township, so it would be in conjunction with the counties and the staff of the township, but I'm not sure where it lies right now.
That's fair.
Okay.
That's all my questions.
Thank you very much. Any other question? The questions, were there anything to add from your side? Perfect, thank you very much. So I did have a mover and a seconder. I will, so right now, are we just accepting the report and it's gonna be passed in the regular council meeting?
That's correct.
Just out of curiosity, because it says here, the resolution is 16-2023, and I see Z 2023 703. If I'm not mistaken, because this here is the zone R226. So I'm just saying so that when we do get to, does that relate to the same?
Well, through the chair, the number that we're concerned about is actually on the motion and on the bylaw, so.
Could it possibly be that it's two different numbers from the zoning number
The
and what
zoning-
the bylaw is going to be?
The zoning bylaw number would be different than the application number.
You've answered, okay. It just was the same that I thought they were
Okay, yes,
supposed to match, so
absolutely.
you've answered my question. Thank you. So we're to accept the report. I have a mover, seconders, all in favor? Anyone against? Motion is carried. Be it resolved that the public meeting adjourns at 7:05 PM. Do I have a mover? The Mayor Densham, seconded by Councillor Bajelli. Or any other question? Seeing none, all in favor? Anyone against? Motion is carried. Well, for the zoning side of things is done, so if you're more than welcome to stick around. And we're going to move into our regular council meeting. Be it resolved that this regular meeting now opens at 7:06 PM. Moved by Councillor Bajelli, seconded by Councillor Shane. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. Have a good evening. Be it resolved that the agenda be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Shane, seconded by Councillor Bajelli. All in favor? Motion is carried. Do I have any pecuniary interest or any nature thereof? Seeing none, we're going to move on. Be it resolved that the following minutes be approved as presented for the special meeting of January 25th, 2023, the zoning amendment public meeting of January 31st, 2023, and as well the regular meeting of January 31st, 2023. Moved by Councillor Bajelli, seconded by Councillor Shane. Any discussion? Seeing none, I would like to add with regards to our last meeting, it was brought to our attention, and I think it was just an oversight, but Councillor McDonald had declared pecuniary interest on 3 different motion, I believe. I don't think we need, but anyways, the last one, it was just process. We were going through the bylaw and she did raise her hand, even though her vote wasn't counted. So there was no recorded vote. So it's not anything recorded, but majority of the rest of council had carried the motion. So the motion still carries. I just want to acknowledge that Councillor McDonald has been removed from the vote. I don't believe I'm getting a frown from so I don't believe the fact that it wasn't a recorded vote that we need to attend. So it's a recorded meeting, which I believe, but the motion still stands as carried with majority of council. And we're going to leave it at that. So did I go through that? Oh, say sorry. So there's no questions. So all in favor? Are you in favor? Perfect. Motion or anyone against? Seeing none, motion's carried. And Councillor McDonald, you did not raise your hand on this one, so we'll keep it at that. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
it is a learning experience, and for sure, you're always trying to balance a lot of priorities in your day, and coming here sometimes after a work day where you've been doing too many things. So I do apologize for the confusion. I'm going to try to be as clear as possible in declaring conflict, and I appreciate as people sort of give me a little bit of grace as I learn. So always hopefully with the best intentions.
And again, by bringing it forward this evening, I hope that we are transparent and we're not trying to bend any of the rules. So be it resolved that the following monthly reports be received for the arena, CAO, finance, fire, by law enforcement, building, and public works. I have the motion moved by Councillor Shane, seconded by Councillor Bajelli. Any questions or comments towards the reports? Or Deputy Mayor Denchen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. On the CAO report, Craig, you mentioned that you attended a MPAC legislative notice webinar. I didn't know if there was any status on just general what may be coming up in terms of was that meeting including any discussion around what may be coming in terms of the revised property values.
Through the chair, actually, no, it was very singular in scope, and there were a couple of hundred municipal staff on that call. It was in regards to clerk and candidate responsibilities from the 2022 election and financial submissions.
Okay.
So perhaps I should have been a little clearer on my, but it was exclusive to that.
Good. One more question, if I could,
Go
to our
ahead.
bylaw officer. I think we used to get a report where you listed or summarized a number of cases and their status. I don't know if that's possible to have that again, even intermittently.
Funny you should mention that through the chair. Yes, the report is coming forward. With the help of Julie, we've been able to log all the complaints. The only thing is I can't log all the phone calls I get, like, inquiries and stuff, but the complaints themselves without having any personal data will be forthcoming. Hopefully not next meeting, but the one after that.
Great, yeah, no, and I'm just.
Like on the
looking at-
monthly meetings, you mean, sir?
If possible.
Yep,
yeah,
yep, that'll be
would
attached to
great. And really, I'm just looking at number of cases, how many are resolved, how many are pending, just very high level would be. all
I
of
can
it.
do that.
Thank you.
Any discussions from any other members? Councillor Bajelli.
Just a note, actually, on a positive note, when you're looking through these reports, it's nice to see things, again, continuously moving in that back to normal type of stage, especially at the ARETA report. When you're looking back to January 2022 and seeing total hours used of 10 and a half, and for it to jump in 2023 now to 213, that's gives us all, I think, a collective sigh of relief as we're moving back to a sense of normalcy.
As it was mentioned that the counties this morning, we're supposed to be turning it over to now an endemic versus pandemic. So that hopefully will, and the comments made by our bylaw officer in regards to saying how funny it was, I actually requested that I would love to see some numbers and we can see progress and where we lie with that. So in the future, maybe we can get some, and it was even discussed about a chart. And so hopefully we can bring that forward to our residents and council moving forward. So any other discussions from council? Seeing none, all in favor? The motion is carried. Be it resolved, the council awards the supply and application of liquid dust suppressant to Polar Distribution, Inc. as per their submission of 510 per ton and authorizes the Public Works Superintendent to sign the contract. Moved by Councillor Bajelli, seconded by Councillor Shane. I will take questions maybe before I'll get our roads or Public Works Superintendent just to give us the overview of the process that took place.
Well, back when we tendered in 2020 with a 2-year extension, we were actually paying $373 per ton. Last year was up to $399. And with the cost of freight and production, as you see in the report, it was quite a jump in pricing. I do have that value built into the budget whenever it's presented. And if you notice, the second bidder was actually $130 some more per ton. So if there's any other questions, I can answer them, but that's a general practice that we have to do every year if we try to control any dust on the roads.
And also to make note, this is a joint venture with, I believe, 5 other or 4 other
No, 5
municipalities.
other municipalities, all 6 municipalities. go
Oh,
in.
all 6
Yeah.
are included? Okay.
Yes.
Which I think to maximize and get the bulk and the better price. Any comments from council? Go ahead and Councilor Jelly.
Yeah, just a question on this. Obviously, as you noted, the price jump was considerable. Obviously, the inflation, cost of transportation, all that, as you mentioned, has taken its toll on that. Would it be safe to assume, especially if this was going in as a joint contract, that even examine kind of going it alone as a township to single source it, we would be looking at a considerably higher price than more likely even so than that 643 a ton if it was just.
I imagine so. The companies have, used to be a greater number of companies supplying it. And the market, like being a seasonal market, I mean, you get big or you get bought out. So there's only 2 players in the market right now for our area, so.
Get their attention.
Mr. Mayor, approximately how many tons do we use?
Is 375. A quick note to council that with the change in climate and sometimes drier weather, extended periods of time and stuff, and the heavy rains, that affects the product itself on the roads. I was planning on increasing our ton per mile application rate because we're seeing a lot more complaints coming in, product wearing down before the fall season comes on. But with this increase, right now until we'll see how it goes. And I mean, it's a variety of things whenever you do a calcium program is basically it's the weather when you put it on. I mean, you gotta put it on fairly dry. You moisten the road, but if you get extreme heavy rains, it's just a coating on top that the calcium goes in and it stays with moisture. So if heavy rains, it would actually dilute the product with traffic and all that. And dry weather, the calcium actually goes to moisture. So the top surface, what keeps the dust under control, will actually go down in the rock to get more moisture. So that makes dust problems. So it's a seasonal thing that I mean, you can apply as much as you want. Some municipalities might do it a couple times a year, but with our financial restraints, I can't see you wanting to double the budget in calcium until you guys see fit to want to increase the value of that budget item.
Go ahead.
Just the terms of it as well, obviously looking at it for this given year and then seeing that there's the option to renew for 2 additional years in 24
Yes.
and 25. Is that at that same rate that's being quoted now, or is that reevaluated?
It's I think it has a CIP clause in it. To be honest. I read over all this stuff and I can't remember now how it's
Where the CPI, often
Yeah,
you'll see,
CPI.
yeah,
CPI.
often you'll see the CPI will come on. Now, Blake, so from what you're just saying, so it's one application is what we're looking at doing?
yes.
And is it one application that covers the 375, or do we have a bit extra, say for a more traveled road, or do we have
We have a higher density volume when we're on certain roads that we've been monitoring and had to up the level of the application rate. Like Norman Drive was one road, down at the 2-3 where they got a quarry on the road. We have to up it.
so does a 375 compensate for the?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, I do have the mover and seconder. So the motion's on the table. All in favor? Motion is carried. Be it resolved that the council approves administration's recommendations respecting the Pesky and Associates organizational and salary review for the Township of North Stormont. And that council approves administration's suggestion of changing staff salary to the 50th percentile to establish market competitiveness. And also that council provide direction for staff salary adjustment grid. Moved by Councillor Shane and seconded by Councillor Bajelli. Before I go to question, who would be best? I'm not sure if we had Carly or Mr. CAO, if Craig, you'd like to comment.
Through the chair, I'll start, and certainly from a financial perspective, Carly can interject. This has been a fairly lengthy process. It started in, I guess, late spring 2022 with a required organizational and salary review. The township had not had one since 2014, as the report stipulates. We worked very collaboratively with an internal group of staff to assist Pesky and Associates. There were a number of suggestions that have been responded to in this report by the CAO with my recommendations. We were about 8% off the market, and to ensure market competitiveness and to be an employer of choice, the CAO is suggesting that the 50th percentile for salaries be introduced. And of course, there is a requirement for council to give direction on the salary grid or proposed salary grids. There was 4 options in the report, 2 that were 7-step and 2 that were 10-step, with different percentages for the various increments throughout that ladder. I'm not sure if council needed more information other than was provided in the report.
So just for the record, we're not the only one. So the counties have gone through their own organizational review and compensation. So did a couple of other municipalities. Some are following suit this year. So it's something that across the board, I think we're dealing with. Again, with trying to retain staff, trying to attract staff for the position. So it's a challenging time. It seems like more and more businesses are having a hard time to get staff. So it's something I think that we have to recognize. The report was well done. We had a chance to go and pick through and see the direction we're going to take. So as mentioned by CAO Calder, we have 4 options that were presented in front of us, which is the 7 steps with a 3% or the 7 with a 4. And there was also on the report, which I don't have in front of me, monetary value that, so I think we know where the first year hit versus after. The other 2 steps are the 10 steps. And again, with a 3 and a 4%. Maybe I can relate the.
And through the chair, I think that the treasurer could provide a little bit more depth to the various numbers that were provided. But again, the CAO is recommending the 50%. I think it strikes a balance between competitiveness and making sure, again, we're an employer of choice, but also to ensure affordability for the ratepayer.
And also, before I go to Carly, again, I look, both myself and Deputy Mayor Densham said at the counties, their review fell in the same place where they actually supported the same level of what we're doing. So we're trying to keep in line with our neighboring and upper tier municipalities. So Carly, I'll let you maybe just go over a few details with regards to the steps.
Sure, no problem. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the proposed pay scales under the 50th percentile, we have 4 different options. There's a 7-step with a 4% differential. There's a 10-step with the 4% differential. There's a 7-step with the 3% differential, and then a 10-step with a 3% differential. The implementation costs for 2023, as noted in the report, the 7-step at 4% to 61,732. The 10-step at 4% is 36,991. The 7-step at 3% is 83,249, and the 10-step at 3%, its implementation cost is 48,234. So that's just in year one, but I did provide council with a review going from 2023 to 2026. The 7-step 4% differential was approximately 180,000 over those 4 years. The 10-step at 4% was 152,000 approximately. At 7-step for 3%, you're looking at 177,000. And then the 10-step at 3% is 138,000. And I'd also just like to mention for the budgeting purpose, the 3% versus the 4%, they both do provide budget stability, but the first year is always different until we even out with each increase, because all the employees, when we transition to the new grid, then they're being placed at whatever salary is closest. So I just wanted the public and to council just to mention that.
Okay, so with that said, I'm gonna go to council and see if there's comments or questions. Yeah. We'll start with you, Deputy Mayor Dancho.
I don't know if anybody else wanted to start off, but I will. You know, when I looked at this term and some of the accomplishments that we achieved with last term, I feel like we have an opportunity with some of the revenue that's on the horizon, with the fact that we've approved an EDO, Economic Development Officer. And so I really want to see us investing well in our manpower. And so I agree with our CAO. I think 50% is the right number to be targeting. And it has, I think we have an opportunity to really grow as a municipality. And I know generally speaking, we've been kind of one of the smaller, slower moving municipalities within the 6 of us. But I think we have an opportunity, but we need to ease into that opportunity. So my position is, you know, what I'd like to see is that we take the 10-step with the 3% differential. By having the 3% differential, we're actually moving the bottom up a little bit. We're compressing it in 3% increments. Therefore, the people who are at the lowest end of that are going to still be protected. They're going to be brought up more quickly to where we need to go. The other thing I'd like to propose in this as well is that 10 steps is a lot of steps. But if we want to foster growth and a more progressive attitude, what I'd love to see is we give the CAO support and direction that for our top 10% of employees who are top performers, he has the ability to allow them to move 2 steps in a year versus just 1 year, so that we can start to, like I say, take advantage of the opportunity and kind of move the mindset into a more progressive type of environment. So again, support the 50% as recommended by the CAO. I would love to see us move to the 10-step at 3%, but with the opportunity for the CAO to be able to allow the top 10% of performers to move at 2 steps.
Any other questions?
Not so much, well, there is one question I had, but I support a lot of what Steve just said. And I think I'm also of the mindset, the reason I wanted to run for council and sit on council was to help the municipality grow, to help us to bring some new, fresh ideas, but that all comes through our staff. So the staff need to be supported. We have to go to the 50%. We have to be competitive and marketed, but we also have to be financially responsible. So I think the CAO has recommended a good balance with that. I think service delivery is really important, and getting some of that organizational stuff taken care of, as I think our bylaw officer already said, having the support administratively allows her to provide better reports to council, give better information to us to serve the public as well. So all of that stuff is very, very important, both organizationally and being competitive salary wise. The EDO position is great, and I hope to see that, you know, come to fruition soon. The one thing I was wondering about was from the report, the comments about the HR position, and a rumor I heard that the county may be offering an HR support. And I'm wondering if we are going to get some benefit from the county to help deal with that, which was sort of an unaddressed item on the organizational review.
That has recently been,
I can maybe speak to that. So I had it down on my notes to tail end to. So the Pesky report did recommend that we do look at hiring an HR position. And I still felt that we are a smaller organization, and it was and it was fortunate that when we did go through our budget process last week at the counties, that the position of HR was proposed to the county level. But it also, they are aligning it that it will serve not only them at the upper tier, but all lower tier municipalities. So presently, South Stormont are the only municipality that has an HR position in their township. The other 5 municipalities do not. So it's not just, it's support that the policies will be made up and carried down to all the municipalities at the lower end. So we will get benefit, but also at the same time, it's not a shared cost that when we need it, we cover. It's a position that will be held at the counties, but the municipalities will benefit from utilizing the services and getting the proper, it's getting to be a new, and I see it in the private sector as well. It's a new game, and an old guy like myself sometimes has a hard time to understand and to relate because I don't foresee seeing the need, but I think it's there's so much involved. And if you speak to the owners of our company, they see the benefit of it. And I think it's the same thing at our level, that once we see the policies and everything being put in place, it just protects everybody. And it's the new coming into the new age, new era of having to give that support. So yes, counties will be supporting the municipalities.
Yeah, a little bit of money on HR day to day avoids a lot of money with an HR issue in court. So I appreciate that. And the other thing I really liked in the report, just compliments to you, Craig, was acknowledging the importance of training and sort of a refresh and a refocus on getting training for staff, because I think it's easy, especially during COVID. A lot of us just went into survival mode, but now let's refresh, let's get everybody going and pulling towards this new vision that we're setting, and offer them some training and keep them growing in their skills. So it's not just money, it's also investing in people and their skills. So, and thank you to the treasurer as well, or I guess soon to be title change, but for presenting options that are reasonable and also providing the context to understand the longer term implication of that, because we are going into, some of us, our first budget, and trying to weigh all these things in advance is difficult. So I really appreciate all the different advice you've provided over the last few months. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Any question, Mr. or Councillor Shane?
Not so much question, just comment. I echo yourself and Mr. Dencham's comments, but we have to be competitive in the market. I agree with the 50 percentile, the 10-step 3, but whenever you're out there, all you hear is people are short-staffed everywhere. Our own departments are short-staffed, and if we're not competitive with the other townships in the market, we're going to lose staff. And by doing this, it's a great review Pesky and Associates did. It's bringing everybody up to be a competitive level. Our economic development position, I believe once that's in place and working well, that position will pretty much pay for itself just in the work it will do. So I think it's a great opportunity there as well. So close off the comments on that as well. I think the move to the 50th percentile is absolutely necessary. As it's been pointed out, staff retention is a huge problem, not just here, but everywhere and across every industry at this point. And you can rest assured if there's a good employee that we have or that someone else has, someone will be quick to poach them. We'd be remiss if we weren't doing the same on our end, looking for good employees from other townships. So it's I think absolutely necessary to put that into place. Also, when it comes, there's a definite cost involved for retraining, in the sense when we do lose employees and that constant turnover, there are costs that will accrue continuously for that. So the value of staff retention itself, it's hard to quantify that there's a real tangible value to that. I like the idea as well of a performance-based rewards as well for those. So you're not captured within just that a regular step, you know where you're going to move as long as you're doing your job. And for some people that's fine, that's great, coming to work and clocking in and clocking out. But for those that really want to strive to excel, there's an incentive there for them. So to actually want to go above and beyond, knowing that there is a secondary goal outside of just what the prescribed step is for that given year. So I think giving yourself that flexibility to reward performance is a smart move to make.
Thank you. So if I may add, everybody knows, so North Stormont is the smallest municipality in the counties, in the 6 municipalities. We are cognizant of being fiscally responsible, but at the same time, we cannot stay with the times and we don't want to be a stepping stone where they come here, work up their experience, and next thing you know is, oh, well, let's get more dollars. So at the same time, we need to recognize to keep our staff, we have great staff. We want to retain them, as Councillor Bajelli mentioned. Training over and over and over does cost money, so it relates. The 10-3 that I would be proposing, and we'll see where the rest of council sits, basically brings them up slightly higher first year, and after that, we're looking at a 34, I think, or $35,000 hit on our yearly budget. It addresses, we've been recognizing where we could be saving. So recommendation was made to have an administrator or administrative help with our public works with regards to building. And I mean, staff got together to discuss it, but with the fact that the building department, it appears that with interest rates, with everything that's going on, price of housing, you're going to see a lower start. I don't know where 2023 is going to start. So we're going to be sharing a staff that's already in place to help basically shared. So we'll see how that works for the short term. So we are addressing if there's any way that we can be more responsible and understanding where we can maybe save and put. So that's what we're doing. And I believe that the 10-3 that I've kind of proposed would stick with the rest of council. So. Oh, and lastly, and I had it on my list. I should maybe just look quickly. I'll get one comment from before I go to fire. Blake, if you can maybe on seasonal work, they're proposing that for part-time, because I know especially this year, and again, I think this Thursday, Friday is opening up to be the same thing. So we've had our challenges with the amount of snow that we've had. The guys work all week long. Friday comes along, and then we get these major snowstorms, and it just overlaps into the weekend. Is this something that can you maybe elaborate in where you see the fit of being able to retain part-time seasonal guys to help us out for plowing and that kind of stuff?
Are we talking about extra seasonal help, or
I believe it was mentioned in the report.
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken, that we should look at having part-time employees to support our full-time guys. And I'm just wondering if you can comment on that, if it's something that you see being attainable.
Well, if you want to use the United Counties best D&G, they're still short staffed, and for them to get seasonal help, they offer 40 hours a week from middle of November till almost the middle of April, and they can't get their positions filled. I was talking with Craig and I said, well, to have a full-time seasonal worker, basically we say, well, how much is it going to cost us to actually increase the budget for that? I mean, are we going to save money? I mean, you almost need, like 2 or 3 to take the whole load off and have people actually going off. But another thing with our situation, and I found with new staff on snow plowing in the back roads, and they're not most likely the easiest condition to learn if you're not there during the summertime. You don't have a wide platform. You got, different areas where you do have fairly good drop-offs or major ditches along the road. And we did have some part-time before, and it costs you with extra breakdowns, or they flip a truck and damage the truck and you have a truck out of service. But that's, well, I should say, basically, I mean, if we could get some, but it's council willing to look at like a full-time seasonal employee. That's the other thing you're looking at.
Okay, well, maybe I put you on the spot. It's just
Yeah.
by going through the review that was mentioned. We are hopefully coming at the tail end of this winter
Yeah.
season. I'm just saying, moving forward, say for, it's something maybe we'll have to have further discussions and seeing it relates. Staff wise, our guys now, so if they do additional time, a lot of time, if I'm not sure how exactly we work, but if it's bank time, then what happens is it comes a point where you get into the spring season and then you don't have the guys because, so it's just a concern for us to,
And through the chair, the bigger challenge, and the mayor makes a valid point about future hours of labor in the summertime. Our biggest concern right now are these very lengthy weather events where we're legislated to provide our staff with certain amount of time off, and for not just their safety, but public safety, to make sure, A, that the roads are being plowed, and that we provide them with the proper rest. And right now, we just don't have the resources, and we've seen that for this season because of some of these major weather events, where we do need to augment our complement. Whether we can attract them or not is a challenge I think all of us in SDG face in any township, trying to find resources for plows. But I think Blake has made it clear that in the best case scenario, that yes, we would enhance our staffing complement in the winter months. Whether we can do that or not is to be seen, and we'll have to work that into the budget if this is approved by council. But Blake, can you again, regardless of the financial challenges and or the, I guess, attraction challenges of that profession, you would agree that we need more staff during the winter months?
Yes.
so I'm putting the message out there to our retired farmers. So lastly, before we go to a vote on this, I would just like to say the fire department, so through this organizational review, our volunteer firefighters, and the fire service is going to be looked at. We are meeting before budget which doesn't fall under this parameters, but they will be discussed as well to make sure that we recognize and deal with our, I don't want to call them volunteer. I guess that's not the proper word anymore, but I still call myself an ex-volunteer firefighter. So anyways, all that said, any further discussion before I go to a vote? Seeing none. So as I mentioned earlier, I would like to provide the council direction for staff salary adjustment grid to the 10-step with a 3% differential is on the table. Do I have everyone in favor? Anyone against? All in favor, motion is carried. Be it resolved that council authorizes the reduction of securities for phase one of the Creekside Estate subdivision by Gen Subdevelopment Incorporated to the amount of 163,021.15 from $226,289.48. Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Shane. Any discussion? Councillor McDonald.
I don't want to put Steph on the spot, so I'm looking at this myself quickly. It's related to, okay, so I'm getting into the nitty gritty before I explain what I'm gonna ask. I was reading through, so SEMA is our engineer, SEMA is reviewed. I'm sure they know what they're doing in terms of assessing the proper security. I just had a question about the table, the schedule that they had, because they noted sewers in use for 6 years. And I guess the deficiencies are looking to CCTV the actual sewer for an issue with leaking MH. I'm not sure what MH. The reason I'm asking, I believe the subdivision is within the wellhead protection area for Moose Creek.
MH is manhole. So it's a leaking.
Okay, in the sewer, in the sanitary sewer.
I-
So I don't have any issue with the security. I'm just raising the issue that if there is any kind of like sewer leakage going on, it may be something to flag from a drinking water protection perspective. But I think it's not within a significant drinking water threat area. It might just be in the low risk area, but
I'll bring it forward to,
just to take a look.
absolutely.
Through the chair, Blake, did you want to comment?
That's a external water going into the sewage.
Okay, infiltration. not
Infiltration.
Okay. So presumably if there's infiltration, there could be exfiltration?
No.
Okay.
No, it's actually leaking through manholes,
Oh.
the seals.
In the
So,
surface.
yeah.
Okay.
Any questions from that side? Just a quick question. So I haven't talked to developer, but are they all in line, everything? I'm not sure, Stephanie, if you're on top or if that's a CAO or possibly, so are they all good or is there any, basically, am I going to be getting a call?
Jerry Doucette from SEMA Plus, Mo and myself sat in and went through the securities on this. I think I know it's very generous considering the time of year they requested it. A in-depth inspection, maybe in the springtime, they could apply for more. Right now, basically the amount of security we're holding will just barely cover the cost of outstanding items right now. So if that answers your question.
Well, just to go both ways. So we're protecting the municipality, but at
Yeah.
the same time, we're understanding the implication coming from the developer. So as long
Yeah.
as everything's in agreement,
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to.
Yeah, like we said, it's a bad time of year for SEMA to do a full inspection of all this stuff. There's missing items in that they're requesting that hasn't been given to the engineer, like the cammering and stuff. So
Which will come in the spring, I presume.
yeah, yes, whenever they get around to do it, and then Jerry could turn around and most likely do a full inspection of certain items that we can't see or was never finalized or requested. So couldn't have been done in the wintertime. So early spring or early summer, then maybe it'd be a different story too.
Perfect. Thank you very much. No more, any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion's carried. Be it resolved, the council approves bylaw number 15-2023, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 45-2017, a bylaw to delegate powers of duties. Moved by Counselor Shane, seconded by Counselor McDonald. Craig, do you want to speak on this?
Through the chair, I'll ask Stephanie to speak to it.
Yeah, so this report and bylaw are coming back to you after our discussion last council meeting with regards to what Bill 23, the Supporting People and Businesses Act 2021 allowed the county council to approve an official plan amendment that essentially would allow the delegation of minor amendments, minor zoning amendments and part lot control. And so based on our discussion at last council meeting, I was instructed to bring back the bylaw pertaining to surplus dwelling severances, which we see a lot of, as well as part lot control, to be approved, as they are still bylaws. So they do still need to be signed by the mayor or deputy mayor, as well as a member of either the CAO clerk or deputy clerk, and are numbered as such as bylaws. So that is what this report is doing, as well as that bylaw in the bylaw section.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council? Seeing none. Is there any effect? So that's zoning bylaw. Is there any anything that's affected in regards to the Committee of Adjustment and minor variance? Is there anything that applies on that side, or?
Not under this bill. Another bill has eliminated the appeal rights in a minor variance. But aside from that, this does not touch any
And
committee of
if I can
adjustment.
just add a comment. So there was a request for our planner to bring forward. We've heard a lot of the stuff from Bill 23, how it affects, and a lot of it deals more with GTA. A lot of it deals more here. So I would like to see Peter, and I think it might be ongoing and it's not an easy ask, but if we can get to see the benefits and the effect of what it has with North Stormont specifically, and giving us a better understanding of what it is that changes at our level and what's the pros and the cons. So anyways, just maybe to put in the minutes that I would love to in a future meeting to get those things answered.
It's still on our board of
Perfect.
tasks to
I
do. But
appreciate it.
yes.
Thank you very much. So seeing no other questions, all in favor? Motion is carried. Be it resolved that council approves the proposal for landfill monitoring and reporting at the Roxborough Waste Disposal Site and the Finch Waste Disposal Site for 2023, with an option to extend to 2024 and 2025. Moved by Councillor Bajelli, seconded by Councillor Shane. Do I have any questions from the Councillor Bajelli?
Just the only question is, seeing that the company reached out to the township on this, knowing that the contract had expired. Was there some kind of lapse somewhere where this wasn't addressed prior to that contract actually expiring to renew something over the coming years, as opposed to just coming up with a proposal saying, hey, we've got these reports that we have to file within a certain amount of time?
The way it's worded, I asked for a proposal to extend, for them to take it over. I should have corrected the wording in there, not that they approached us, we approached them with the contract being over. In the next report, you would see from the Waste Management Working Group that one of the things we're discussing is as contracts and to joint tender for landfill monitoring of landfills in SDNG. So I requested with the Emily Bacon, who's our project manager, for them to give us a proposal so we can see if council wants to carry on. The difference in money is it's from our current contract from 2020, we were 27,572, and this current year 2023 would be 28,800. So it's just over $1,228 difference over from the 2020 contract. So basically, I didn't want to get into a full-time tender where WSP, they used to be Golders. We competed against WSP. We had WSP before 2020, and we went to the market, and now the market has actually combined back into the same group. So that answers the question. It wasn't that they came to us. I actually asked them to make us a proposal, and that's maybe not a proper report. That's deceiving, maybe.
No, I can appreciate that. I'm always uncomfortable whenever I read something or see something that is, and I see sole sourced. I'm not a fan of anything sole source, never have been. And knowing that there are actual requirements, reporting requirements, because of the closure of the dump and when those have to be, kind of time constraint to actually put something out for a request for quotes at this point. But I just wanted to voice that publicly, that I'm not completely comfortable whenever I read sole sourced.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor McDonald.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and I think it's just nice to know clearly why that is being proposed. If it's a timing issue on reporting, that absolutely needs to be done. If it's a fact that there's no market anymore, there's only one company, it's just, that would be helpful to have a higher level of comfort. Is, when I read it, is there outstanding reporting that wasn't done for 2019, 2018? Is there monitoring and reporting requirements that were not done that are from previous years?
No.
No, okay, that's.
If I'm not mistaken, is this legislated that I believe so, eh? So this monitoring does have to take place. I think we've been, La Flèche has been there for 20 years. We've just signed into the next 20. So it's something that's been ongoing, and we just monitor. So we're going to get to the next update on the regional waste. We'll explain. So this working group that we have is, again, a project through all of the counties. So potentially I appreciate to see with a 1 year with the option of 2024 and 25, because we don't know where we will be sitting depending on where this group goes. And if we can joint venture with all of SDNG, maybe then we can, again, similar to the volume based, and reduce our costs from an RFP.
Yes, that was the end of the comments, which is, I see they've quoted up until 2026, and like a sole source for that long would be very uncomfortable, but a sole source for a year till you get the regional waste group to figure things out is a little more comfortable. So.
Good. So motion's been read. So any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion's carried. That council receives this report as an update from SDNG Regional Waste Management Working Group. Moved by Councillor Shane, seconded by Councillor Bajelli. As I just mentioned, Blake, did you want to comment on where we're at and just the details of where?
Well, basically, we had our first meeting, I think it's January 18th. Just to try to get organized. You see in there the terms of reference. We're trying to look at taking in some more experienced people to help guide us. Not as in hiring people. We'll just take, like, the example would be in Rare. Jessica McDonald has been running the Rare plant. She has a good handle on the processing side, and we're looking at we'll be looking into the data call, and another thing we're looking at is we're changing over in January 1st, 2025. You can see in that report we didn't I haven't brought forward a request or a proposal to council to opt in, or opt out. At the time, I could almost say everybody will lose money on recycling. So, but at the time, we don't have enough facts. We're kind of waiting to see the bigger picture because all the information has not been given out yet. The first group is just transitioning. If I'm right, Toronto is mid-year this year. So we don't know exactly how the system's going to work. We know they're taking it over, but if you question the opt-in, opt-out, that'd be the transition period. It's supposed to be 1 year. People are saying it could be extended to 3 years. I know a fact that we'll be paying for our commercial businesses. We have to do a study on, and when they say commercial, it doesn't mean that the big, like a restaurant or a store. If you have a small commercial shop beside like the grooming place in Chrysler, they might turn around and say, well, you got so much here and you got to pay so much there. We don't know the details fully for me to feel satisfied to take something to you, but that's what the next meeting is going to be looking at that. And we're looking at most likely every couple of months until we really get our head around all the details involved in the changeover and recycling, besides the waste management. So basically, like I said, it's just a beginning to start out, and we can, once we get more time, we didn't have enough time in our first meeting to actually get into a lot of stuff. We found out that, yeah, there's a lot of interest and a lot of people are doing different things. The concern too is the hazardous waste. It costs us around $10,000 a year to host an event. Product Care is supposed to be hosting events, not in every municipality, but we don't know that for sure what they're going to do. So it's a lot of uncertainty because they don't have all the information out on the table yet. And we've been trying to even get into our login program, and that's not even working. So it's a start, but we got lots of work to do and a lot of research and information to gather. And for sure, I will most likely say I'll opt out, but I got to make sure the council understands if we're going to leave the commercial places hanging because they're not going to pick them up, what are we going to do after that? Do we have a place that we can actually pick up commercial places and take it? We're talking about maybe will Rare stay open as a commercial depot processing plant? Does council in North Glengarry want to even get involved in that? There's a lot of factors that it's what's going to happen, where's going to be the processing center. You know, it's a lot of information that we don't have the facts on to be clear to you about what we're going to do.
So correct me if I'm wrong, are we looking as an individual for our best interest, and then also working with the bigger guys and working and seeing what they're doing? And because at the end of the day, we don't know where this group is going or if it's even gonna get off the ground, correct? So do we have to sort of balance and look at our own interests at the same time, work with the working group?
That's the main point of it, and that's why if you recall, whenever the county engineer came in and said, like, try to work together. We're kind of unique. We have the landfill site, we have a contract for our waste site, which, you know, and feasible for us to do it in-house in collection. But on the recycling side, that's more of a working as a group to decide. I know there's contracts out there in different municipalities that are different. North Glengarry has their own landfill site. It's going to be tough to really do one thing for all SDNG. There's there might be some things we can do as a group. There might be some things for municipalities might do as a group. But we're not committed until council says what we want to do and the report's coming back. If we want to do this. So there's no commitment by myself or anyone that we can, besides maybe a little budget in case they want to do a little study or this and that, they request that in the report here. And so it's like I said, we'll most likely have maybe 6 or 7 meetings this year really to get our heads going and time-wise.
And when is the transfer be? So when can council expect reports to start coming in to determine which direction we're going to take?
Well, basically, the March 8th meeting, we brought up some stuff about the opting in, opting out for the recycling side. So that should be coming shortly. To say what, I know North Glengarry is working on the hazard of waste with product care. So they're coming back with information on that. So we're kind of working as certain ones will pull in certain things, and we won't have work as a group to say when we want to do something. It's SD and G, if we're trying to get more money for hazard waste. SD and G wants as a group, but we're not having 6 municipalities talk to the same people because we're getting different answers from different people. So that's why we want to get one coordinated organization going and looking into the certain products and certain conditions and because it's all, they're doing a big changeover now. And it's, like I said before, there's a lot of stuff not working for them. They don't have the information because they're changing over. We can't get some of the information and like I said before, if you talk to different ones, it's a big ripper, it's a big group, and you get different people giving you different answers. So that's why we're trying to get, as a group, get one answer and get the right answer that they know what they're talking about. So.
Okay, so did I have, yes, I do have the mover. So to basically just accept the report. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion's carried. Be it resolved that bylaw 15-2023 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 45-2017 and delegate authority to enact bylaws under Planning Act to be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 21st day of February 2023. Moved by Councillor Bajelli, seconded by Councillor Shane. And let me just see which one. So that's the landfill. So that's to delegate powers, I believe, Stephanie? Is that the one for perfect? So this is the first presentation we have. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion's carried. Moving to the presentation that was done with the developer in the room, be it resolved that the bylaw 16-2023 being a bylaw to change the zoning of certain lands in the township of North Stormont from a commercial general CG zone to a residential second density special exemption 26 R2-26 zone and residential first density R1 zone, and amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 08-2014 be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 21st day of February 2023. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion was carried. Be it resolved that the correspondence as listed as item 12.1 to 12.2 on the agenda be received. Any discussion on either? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Densham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just from 12.2, just a quick reminder to those who are looking for their free trees. It's coming up, so get ready to plan for March. And on 12.1, to Craig, this was a resolution by the town of Petrolia regarding the fact that they had to support and fund the school board election alongside their municipal elections. I just made me wonder, is that a particular burden for us during like an incrementally heavy burden compared to like just tacking it on with the rest of the municipality, or is it?
Well, I mean, certainly through the chair, there's costs incurred, less significant certainly than the municipal financial burden of an election. It's not a cheap endeavor. It's a very noble one, but there is a cost certainly. I do see the point of the township making this statement. Perhaps there's some validity in it, and that's something the council will have to weigh in and either request the CAO to draft a similar letter, and they can endorse it at the next council meeting if that's a desire of the elected officials.
I'm just trying to remember. I think we set aside about $5,000 a year for the next municipal election, which implies it's about $20,000. We still have to do the municipal election. So if it's only a couple $1,000 incremental to keep the school board a piece of that, I think it makes sense to do that. I just don't want to, create a lot of noise for a couple $1,000. I just didn't realize, or didn't understand whether I'm oversimplifying the inclusion of the school board or whether there's more complexity there that we need to be aware of.
No, through the chair, I mean, we've never dissected it, and this is from 2018, I transitioned in 2019, so this was my first election, but we've never carved out the actual costs associated with the school board and compared to the municipality. Certainly, I think there's obviously a cost, but is it minor? In all likelihood, yes.
Thank you.
Any other question? Seeing none, all in favor for the consent items? Motion is carried. Be it resolved that bylaw number 17-2023 being a bylaw to ratify and confirm council's action at its regular meeting of February 21st, 2023, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 21st day of February 2023. Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Shane. Any discussion? Further, seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. So before we resolve to adjourn this regular meeting, just to let you know, our budget meeting will be taking place for first draft on March the 6th in council chambers. March 7th will be our regular council meeting, as well as March 28th for the two meetings in March. So that being said, be it resolved that this regular meeting adjourn at 8:13 p.m. Moved by Councillor Shane, seconded by Councillor McDonald. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you very much to my team of council. Thank you for the people in the gallery as well as the people on Zoom. Have a wonderful night.